Yes, hello everyone and welcome to all our West Australian football fans to another edition of Around the WAFL, your go-to WAFL podcast in 2024 as we head to the business end. The run home to the finals is in full swing. We're hot off the heels of an exciting round 17 which saw some huge results and the first draw of the year. We'll recap it all for you today. You can catch us on our socials, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, on YouTube and where you get your podcasts. Paul Persick alongside Ethan Roth in the studio. And Rothy, what a huge Saturday of football. It's opened the finals race up a lot more.
Yeah, g'day Paul. It was a very exciting weekend of footy. I feel like in some ways we are still none the wiser. There's probably 6 teams still in it, so it opens it up, but that just makes things even more exciting and, much looking forward to round 18.
Round 18, of course, we'll preview that round on Thursday here on Around the WAFL. But today we're going to break down the 4 games that took place on Saturday. And in just a moment, we're going to have a chat with Claremont star Declan Mountford. He had a great game on Saturday against East Perth in that massive win at Revo Fitness Stadium. But first, here's how you can win big at the WAFL in 2024.
Punt from 50, win. Little too into the game, win. Too cocky, almost a win. Risking it all for the glory, win. It's win-win at the WAFL. Great footy, food and entertainment. Find out more at waffle.com.au.
Yes, win-win. WAFL and Claremont have been on the winning track. They've won their last 4 games at home and including 6 out of their last 7 following that 59-point win over East Perth at Revo Fitness Stadium this past Saturday. One of their stars was Declan Mountford. He played such a key role. 12 possessions, 4 marks and 5 tackles in that big win over the Royals. And he is good enough to join us here on Around the WAFL. Deck, good morning, mate. Welcome to the show.
Morning, Paul. How are you going?
Going very well. Great to have you here. That win was another confidence builder, wasn't it? Because you keep on winning these vital games and you've beaten East Perth twice now. So it really goes to show that you can take it to the big contenders despite what had been a very disappointing start to the season.
Yeah, for sure. I think now there's just a bit of inner belief that we can kind of match it with anyone, but under no real illusions about where we are on the ladder and how our season's kind of going.
And you had a lot of momentum after halftime, but before halftime, someone that really stood out, Zach Mainwaring. He's not kicked maybe as many goals as he would have liked this year, but you must be right for him with the way he came out there on the weekend and played.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's nice for him to get a bit of return from all his hard work he does week in, week out. He's always kind of the one applying pressure and stuff, but it was good to see him with his big chest back out.
Was the motivation added by the 3 milestones that were there? Not only Cannon England playing his 100th game, Bailey Rogers playing his 150th game, the Sandover medalist, and also Colts young gun Hamish Davis making his debut. Did that spur the side on even more?
We definitely made note of it pre-game, and they've all been tremendous servants of the Claremont Football Club. So I think it is an added layer of motivation for us.
And how's your personal game coming along? Obviously, a bit of an interrupted season, but how are you feeling like your form is coming across, later stages of the year as you've been playing more?
Yeah, well, as opposed to last year, I missed the back end of the season. You'd rather be playing this end of the year. I think just getting through this winter period and slowly building week in, week out and hopefully put us in a position for a finals run.
Now, in those 6 wins out of the last 7, more than half of them have been over sides currently in the top 5. So that really gives you a lot of confidence. And does it come down to the approach of treating every game in the second half of the season like a sudden death final?
I'd say partly, yeah. I guess every week really has been a do or die for us. And it still continues to be, just given our ladder position.
And big test versus Peel Thunder next up, obviously making the trip to Mandurah. So you guys must be looking forward to that and coming up against another challenging side.
Yeah, it obviously doesn't get any easier this week versus the first on ladder or second on ladder or wherever they are, but they've probably been the best side all year. So to play them down at their home ground is going to be another tough challenge.
Who's going to be the player that the side will want to shut down the most in regards to Peel Thunder? Because they are such a formidable side. They're on top of the ladder. Who do you think is going to be that biggest target for the Thunder on Saturday?
Oh, look, they've obviously got a lot of good players, a lot of good non-listed, got a lot of good listed players. So I'd say it's probably going to be more of a team job across the board.
No doubt about it, against a great side like Peel Thunder, and your side is looking the goods as well. 6 out of the last 7, and a big win over East Perth continues that form. Congratulations, Declan. Great game from yourself and from the Tigers. All the best against Peel Thunder on Saturday. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
That was Declan Mountford joining us here on Around the WAFL. And it's a good approach to have, treat that second half of the season as sudden death, considering Claremont's first half of the season. But they played a magnificent game. I think it was their best this season, especially against an East Perth side that were also riding that wave of form. And then to restrict them to only 3 goals for the day, very impressive. And the second defeat of East Perth.
Yeah, subconsciously, I think they're probably playing each game as a final. I don't know if it's being mentioned as much, but I think anytime you keep a side like East Perth under 30 points, you're in for a good day, and you've done something right defensively, but also to put the scoreboard as they did, and have a debutant come in, have 16 touches, Hamish Davis, send these, celebrate these veterans the way they did as well was a day they'll never forget.
No doubt about it. We'll break down more of that game in just a moment. Claremont massive winners over East Perth, and of course the rest of the round 17 action here on Around the WAFL. But of course, looking ahead to round 18, this is coming back for one last hurrah.
Get along to Waffle Wonderland this Saturday to see the Sharks and the Bulldogs go head-to-head in the traditional derby at Fremantle Community Bank Oval. There's loads of fun activities for kids from 2:30. Tickets at waffle.com.au.
Oh, how good is it, Rothy? Waffle Wonderland, back for one final hurrah. No better way to go out in a blaze of glory than with the People's Derby.
Yeah, expect a big crowd there come Saturday. So the Waffle Wonderland out in full force.
Oh, it's going to be something else. Get down to Fremantle Oval on Saturday, the big derby, the second one of the year. But of course, that's in the future. This is the now. Round 17's action. Let's start it off with Subiaco and the West Coast Eagles. A great game over there at Leederville. In the end, Subiaco's class telling 16-11, 107 to the Eagles, 13-10, 88. Subiaco just looked a lot more polished after halftime through the work of Greg Clark and Lee Kitchen. But also, Subiaco's forward line at first, without Ben Sokol and Jack Mayo, there was a lot of questions around that, but Ryan Borshed answered them brilliantly with a 5-goal haul.
Yeah, stepped up, as we know he has done in the past, and was really intrigued with young Malachi Champion's debut against the club he's linked to in the NGA. 3 goals. So that was a big tick for him, and I think he'll keep his place for at least another week.
We kept an eye on him during the Colts last year. I called a couple of his finals on streamer.com.au, and just the flair that he's got and the creativity inside that 450 really is a good sign that he could be maybe a forward of the future for Subiaco if he keeps his place consistently in this final stretch of the season and into next season as well.
Yeah, obviously he'll have ambitions to be drafted, but as you said, for the rest of the year, and it's sort of cliche to say for a small forward, but he doesn't need a lot of it to make an impact, and give him a second or two and you'll soon find out that he might make you pay.
Absolutely, and those West Coast defenders, they certainly found that out. But credit to the Eagles. They were very, very competitive on Saturday. Dom Sheed and Andrew Gaff, their experience telling, 59 possessions between them. Cohen Livingston as well. Didn't get a lot of the football, but like Malachi Champion, he created such impact. And I reckon with what the Eagles did, with changing him up and going from the ruck to a key forward, and Matty Flynn playing in the ruck as well, I reckon that caught Subiaco off guard a little bit.
Yeah, it helps when you have a bona fide ruck helping you out when you're not the main one at 18, 19 years of age. That's a given. And yeah, a couple nice goals on the run as well. He's very athletic. I think he is more of a forward. Make no mistake about that. He is naturally more of a forward who, with his size, is a very serviceable ruckman as well. But yeah, I think naturally he is more forward, and that's where he's probably more dangerous.
Would that be fair to say that for the rest of the season, would you want to keep him if you were Kyle Horsley, the Eagles coach? Keep Livingston as that key forward and put Matty Flynn in the ruck?
100%, but I think it also comes down to the Eagles' availability. They recruited Matt Flynn to be an AFL player from GWS. They didn't recruit him to play Waffle, barring coming back from injury and getting some form. So ideally, yes, for Cohen's sake, but I think, with the structure of the Eagles side, players coming in and out, I think, it's not that set in stone, but who knows? I think potentially it could be a move for the back half of the year.
Will be very interesting for the West Coast Eagles over the next 5 weeks. Of course, Dom Sheed, again, a key for the Eagles. The Lions, they had Greg Clark and Lee Kitchen providing great service as well. Greg Clark, largely he's played a lone hand in that midfield. He hasn't had a lot of backup, but that's obviously due to the lack of big bodies in that side. They're playing like if a Perth Wildcats small ball lineup was playing in the NBL. There's a lot of run, there's a lot of carry, but not not a lot of big bodies to take the physical contest to the top 5 teams. They certainly did that against the West Coast Eagles, however. Greg Clark, Savini, Schofield all provided great service.
Yeah, that depth is crucial, isn't it? And those younger players coming up in their early 20s. And another debutant, Patrick Mullane, as well, in the back half. I know he's played a lot of reserves footy. He's waited a long time. So patience paid off for him on the weekend in that back half. And yeah, they're just, these young guys are blossoming. Yes, it's going to take time. But, guys like Kelman, Henderson, they're only going to get better with the more league footy they play. And with Subiaco, not playing finals this year, I think it can give them an opportunity to really trial some players in different positions. I'm not saying they'll hand out debuts for free, but trial some guys in some different positions and see what they're made of as they look to rebound in 2025.
A couple of good young guns in there for Subiaco, and they did the job over the West Coast Eagles by 19 points at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. And the Eagles, of course, competitive, but still another loss of their name. But they have a chance to build some respectability in the week ahead. And then we go to Fremantle Oval. And the first draw of the year, South Fremantle and Swan Districts. Manfred Kelly with a behind after the siren to pinch 2 points from the noses of the Swans. But credit to South Fremantle, they just kept coming back. And the Swan District side, I think, made to rue a missed opportunity because they led by some 3 goals in the second half. But South Fremantle, they just kept resisting every challenge.
Yeah, well, often when there's a draw, they say that one side sort of felt like they came away with it and one side felt like they slipped. And I think Swans will feel like they let that one slip a little bit. I think Will Collins was on the line, almost trying to punch it out, and it didn't. It went through for a behind in the end, so that was a bit unlucky in itself. After he torpedoed a behind just a few moments before that, which was a beautiful kick. But
bringing back the barrel, you say?
Yeah, well, I mean, recognising the time and the moment just to go quickly and get a score on the board. But yeah, South Fremantle, credit to them the way they finished, and a bit of a somber feeling. When it's a draw, you don't know how to react, and 2 points. I think, these two sides, if any two sides were going to have a draw this year, was probably these two evenly matched teams.
Yeah, especially with the encounters that they've had in recent times. They've had their fair share of close encounters, as we said last Thursday. One of the big keys, I reckon, South Fremantle got the better of Swan Districts was their backline. They were magnificent. Lee Coleman held goalless in that game. It wasn't a day for the forwards over there at Fremantle Oval, but it was a day for the backlines. You talk about the likes of Chad Pearson, he did a wonderful job. Glenn Byron, he also was brilliant as well. And Strom, who shut down Lee Coleman magnificently on the Fremantle Oval turf, holding him to just the 4 possessions. And if you shut down Lee Coleman in that forward line, you've had a pretty good day.
Yeah, especially with his form this year coming back. I feel like even if you keep him to 1 or 2 goals, you feel like you've had a pretty good day. So to keep him goalless is next level. But someone that did bob up with a lot of pace, Bryce Watson. How was he? I mean, they found someone there. I know he's obviously been really highly rated Colts Premiership player a couple of years back. Right. Was in the State 18s program. Was on the fringe of being drafted, but he electrifying pace, often the defender, but took 4 bounces, I think, in his last goal to run into an open goal. I mean, they couldn't catch him.
No one could catch Bryce Watson. He's got great leg speed. The run and carry through midfield in towards 50 was absolutely brilliant. 3 goals straight, in fact. And, of course, the 7 marks to go with the 17 disposals. And, he played his role magnificently and showed his versatility. I will agree with you on that. One South Fremantle player that I was very impressed with, you talk about the likes of Bryce Watson, Nick Rokar, Jesse Turner from Swan Districts, and Tony Knott. Just quickly, before we get to that Bulldogs player, Tony Knott taking a typical Tony Knott mark on his back at ground level, and he still managed to hang on to it.
Not surprised, are we?
Is there anything Tony Knott can't do? And on another historic day as well.
Yeah, it's almost like Tony Knott's year, to be honest. We're just giving that much praise, and so we should.
Absolutely. 306 games, of course, overtaking the great Billy Walker. Huge congratulations to him. Bit of a weird day to finish, with the draw. But just going back to South Fremantle, Solomon James, I really think that was his best performance this year, South Fremantle ruckman. I reckon he's really come of age this year. Okay, he's been in and out of the league side, but his role against his opponent in Nathan Blakely, he beat Nathan Blakely in the ruck battle all throughout that afternoon. 18 disposals, his follow-up was brilliant, brought the ball inside 54 times and took 5 marks as well. I reckon he's got what it takes to be the prime number 1 ruckman should South Fremantle make the finals. Yeah,
well, you talk about dominating Blakely in the ruck. He had more than double his hit-outs, 38-17. So you only have to look at the score sheet, the stat sheet, to see how much he dominated. And his versatility, his follow-up work, as you said, confidence is key, and it's the way you want to be playing at this time of year.
Absolutely. The question is on this result, just going to the result overall. I think this does more harm for South Fremantle than good, because you look ahead to the Derby. If they lose to East Fremantle and Claremont beat Pure Thunder, the Bulldogs are the most vulnerable. They could drop out of the 5. So this draw may hurt South Fremantle more than it does good.
Yeah, it may hurt, but I mean, they've got a good record over East Fremantle. Obviously, we'll talk about the game more in depth on Thursday, but I think they'll be backing themselves in. And anytime you come away with a draw over a loss, obviously it's better. And I guess it poses the question, extra time, should it happen? Should it not? It would make things more exciting. But then again, if a draw happens once a year like it has today, it kind of makes it what it is, So
exactly.
It's so rare.
Yeah, it is rare. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Don't get me started on having extra time, no matter if it's in the regular season. The only time where it would make sense to have extra time is at the finals. Don't do it at the regular season. End of discussion there. So that's pretty much all there is to it. It just makes better sense to do it in the finals. But nonetheless, South Fremantle and Swan Districts pick up 2 points. It was a cracker at Fremantle Oval. Neither team could be separated. Now let's go to Revo Fitness Stadium on the Saturday. Claremont making a huge statement, beating East Perth for the second time this season, 13-9-87 to 3-10-28. The Royals held to just 3 goals for the day. But gee, Claremont, they put on the afterburners after quarter time and were never headed.
Yeah, it felt like it was Claremont's day all round over East Perth in all grades. I know the Colts had a 148-point win in Albany, I believe it was. So, not the best day for East Perth all round, but taking nothing away from Claremont. And as we said with Declan Mountford, can't really go past Zach Mainwaring's 5 goals, 4 in the first half. I mean, we only sat here last week and we're talking about sort of what's happened. Not that, you only measure success based off goals, but, notably he had been a bit down on that front. But for him to return the way he did, the players got around him, and you can tell how much it meant for him to kick a big bag like that. As a small forward, kicking 5, anytime you do that, it seems like it's coming rarer and rarer by the year.
It certainly is, but Zach Mainwaring's return to form couldn't have come at a more important time, when Claremont just need to keep on winning and build that run home to the final should they make it. There's still the possibility they could get the double chance, but Mainwaring, he played out of his skin on Saturday. I mean, not only the 5 goals, 7 tackles, and he had 23 disposals as well, and he brought himself further up the ground as well to involve himself in the contest, so it was one of his best performances, and he really cracked that wall open for his side in favour early on in that game, and just continued on in that second half. Callan England, 26 disposals. Sam Alvarez in midfield, 26 disposals as well. And also the debutant Hamish Davis, very serviceable debut. Only the 16 disposals. Some may say, okay, that isn't a lot, but just how he used the football was absolutely brilliant. Of course, he's come over from the Colts system, and he's really worked hard to get into that main 22.
Yeah, he's quite versatile. He can play as a forward, he plays as a midfield. Only had 40 disposals a handful of weeks back in a Colts game, but can kick bags like there's no tomorrow as well. So I reckon he could be one that could, depending on, obviously he would want to play in a Colts premiership with Claremont, but if Claremont make league finals, they might want him there as well. So I think it's a good problem to have, though, all around with the success Claremont are having. But Claremont didn't see this result coming at all in terms of, we gave Claremont a chance, of course, but not by this margin.
No.
At all. But I just worry about East Perth their depth a bit, and we don't often say this with the players that they have, but taking nothing away from Schumacher, Brayshaw, Croydon, they all had around 25 roughly disposals each. But
Scotty Jones, to complement that, had 27 hitouts, but he was well beaten by Eastland.
I feel like, I don't know if it's harsh to say that those 3 aren't at their best, but are they really setting the world on fire and those players underneath them as well?
Well, they are setting, they're setting a lot of their own records as well. Let me just say that, based on the number of disposals that they're getting. But I think there's 2 reasons. One, I think they're just lacking that primal endurance, the fitness factor. They are a good side, but they're just starting to lose that edge. Because keep in mind, before this game, they led by some 40 to 45 points in 3 games and almost blew them all. So their lack of finishing, but this was at the start of the game. They got absolutely pounded at the start, 6 goals to 3 at half-time. And then they only had 5 behinds in the second half. They completely lost their way. They turned over the ball so many times in that defensive half. It's ridiculous. And I'm going to be blunt. That was not an East Perth performance befitting of their season so far. And I reckon Ross McQueen's going to put those boys through a week of hell ahead of the Perth Derby.
I feel like this is a bit of a recurring theme, though, with East Perth. Like last year, I feel like they limped to the finish line a bit. It seems somewhat that they're doing... I know they've been winning games, but they've been letting sides come back a bit. But yeah, is the hunger there? Tired legs. Obviously, everyone's tired this time of year. It's a long year, but yeah, you just wonder. Yeah, I don't want to say they burnt themselves earlier in the year and they put all their energy into it. But clearly, they're still there.
There was one positive, however. Stanley Wright. Stanley Wright continued to work hard, 29 disposals, 7 marks. He was always involved when Claremont were trying to bring the ball into their attack. You'd always see that number 7 looking to swoop in from the side and go after the loose football and bring it out at defensive 50, but they just looked rushed. They didn't back up Wright pretty well, and they just looked panicked when they're trying to clear inside that 50. They often rush the ball forward without being calculated and composed. Claremont were a lot more than calculated and composed. They were ruthless.
Yeah, well, he's daring, isn't he, Stan Wright? But you just look 3 goals 10. I mean, the inaccuracy, anytime you kick that, it's just going to cost you at any level of football.
Absolutely. Of course, Claremont with another big win, their 4th straight win at home. Winners by 59 points, and they're still alive in the race for the 5. And then the final game of round 17, we mentioned last Thursday, this is a bit more of an unknown as far as the fixtures were concerned. Peel Thunder and Perth, but ultimately it was the Thunder that showed their class at the end and romped away to a 19-point victory. 13-8, 86-10, 7-67. Credit to Perth, they gave it everything. They were a point behind at half-time, but just look at the depth and experience of that Peel Thunder side. Liam Reedy, 42 hit-outs. Brady Gray, 22 disposals. Neil Erasmus, a massive 34. No wonder that Peel just got over the top of the Demons in that last quarter and kicked away when the game was pretty much in the balance.
Yeah, well, I mean, credit to Perth for not getting blown out of the water. I know that might sound a bit disrespectful to them, but yeah, as you said, a bit of an unknown, but yeah, Sebit Quek's long-awaited return as well. They got around him, which was nice.
That was great to see.
It's been a long time coming.
It certainly was. Sebit Quek is an electrifying player. You know, he's had a long spell out of the game with injury, and it was great to see him back. And that goal there just summed up, you know, how much Peel loved having him back.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think it helped Perth that had Constable back, obviously, a few weeks now, and Thompson in that midfield. And I don't think their effort can be questioned. I think that's one thing with Perth is that's... You know, I think it has improved a bit is their hunger and their want to play to the final siren.
Absolutely. Aaron Clark also for Perth can be credited as well. 4 goals, only had the 7 disposals, but when he got the football, he was very effective and impactful on the scoreboard. The best for me was actually Blake Schlensog from the Demons. I mean, he's really lifted his responsibility and his workload in the ruck ever since Josh Edwards has been sidelined with a rib injury he sustained a few weeks ago. 33 hit-outs, 19 disposals. I was speaking with Mark Reddings on Monday on radio, and we really highlighted how versatile he can be, not just as a key defender, but also in the ruck as well. And if Schlensog keeps the way he's going in the ruck, I reckon Josh Edwards could, be put to that back line and add a little bit of big body pressure in there.
Yeah, it's handy having someone like Schlensog, so versatile, can play numerous roles, and I feel like they were pretty well positioned, key position-wise. Like, you look at Elijah Scoble in the back line, I think he's a good player. Demons fans would be hoping he's there for the next 10-plus years. Had a tough job of Matt Tabner, but I think he did pretty well. I know Tabner kicked 3, but 8 disposals. Anytime you're coming up against someone of Tabner's experience, you're going to learn a thing or two, but I feel like he did held his own. And experience was the key in Peel Thunder's favour. You talk about Tabner with 3 goals. Carl Warner, decent roll down at half-back, 21 disposals. Nathan O'Driscoll with 28. And also Will Brodie, fine form with 31 disposals. I mean, the usual suspects fired as you would expect. But Michael Selwood, I thought his role as a shutdown defender was again impressive. Aaron Clark was their only effective forward, and Michael Selwood shut out the rest, with his 19 disposals, 6 marks, 4 tackles as well, but also his effective disposal when taking the ball away from that defensive 50 where Perth can do so much damage, I thought was the most important performance in that game. Yeah, he does it so well offensively and defensively, his run and carry, but then, his ability to come back, help out and spoil, because he's not a typical key defender. He's more of a 3rd and 4th tall defender, but, he plays above that as well. So, yeah, he will be a player that they'll be counting on from a finals point of view. Obviously, when they need those non-listed players that they know are going to be there. Another impressive player on debut was Lewin Colton. 2 goals for him. So, little sneaky small forward coming to his own. It's not a bad time to debut in the
no, absolutely right
as well.
Lewin Colton is a very good goal sneak. He can find goals from anywhere. He's a wonderful player.
Big kick as well.
He is a big kick. Yeah, big kick. Can cover a lot of distance, Lewin Colton. He had a very serviceable debut. And speaking of young players, if they're looking for another from the future, let's take a look here. This is Luke Bennett from the Colts game a little earlier. A massive screamer. How about that? Just before half-time of the Colts game. I reckon they'd be looking for him, or maybe the Dockers could be be looking to draft him next season. He has got great aerial ability.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was commentating the other Colts game in the next room, and I heard you call that, and I was like, what has happened? Someone must have taken a screamer Mark of the Year, and I dare say it certainly lived up to it.
If that's not Mark of the Year, I'm walking straight to 2 rocks and back. I mean, that was an incredible mark. In fact, that was one of 4 that Luke Bennett took in the remaining quarters of the match. That guy's a freak, and I reckon Peel's league selectors should be looking at him.
Keep an eye on him.
No doubt about it. Luke Bennett, he'll be a star of the future. So will Lewin Colton. He had a very serviceable debut as well with a couple of goals. But in the end, it was Peel Thunder teaming magnificently in the final quarter to deliver a 19-point win over Perth. But before we get into the rest of the show, Rothy, here is how our wonderful WAFL fans can check out some great merch. Introducing the WAFL Merch Shop, your ultimate destination for all things WAFL. From jerseys to scarves to caps, show your support for the WAFL in style. Grab exclusive merchandise now and gear up to cheer louder than ever before. Visit shop.wafl.com.au today and let your passion shine. Oh, how about that? The WAFL merch store, it is selling like hotcakes at the business end, Rothy, with the finals not too far away. I recommend the fans, they get their WAFL merch quickly because it's going to be going.
Yeah, quick. That's the key word.
No doubt about it. Let's go to the ladder after round 17. And with Peel's win over Perth, they take over at the top of the ladder once again ahead of East Perth. Swan District's just 2 points behind as a result of that draw with South Fremantle. Then come the Bulldogs and East Fremantle making up the 5. Claremont are still alive in that fight. They're just behind on percentage. Then comes Subiaco, West Coast, West Perth, and Perth with only 5 rounds to go, Rothy. It is only getting ever closer. 4 rounds to go, rather. It is getting ever closer to the business end.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy the way that Claremont have been playing and they're still out of the 5. I think it's just a reflection of how good the competition is, how tight it's been, and how bloody good it's been to watch.
No doubt about it. I dare say, if Claremont missed the 5, they'll definitely be feeling unlucky after this run that they have had.
100%, but at the same time, if you make the 5, you thoroughly deserve it. So I think the destiny's in their own hands.
No doubt about it. They just got to keep on winning. And of course, they've got Peel Thunder on Saturday. We'll preview that big round in a couple of days' time. Let's go to the votes for round 17. We're mixing it up a little bit this week. 1 vote goes to Ryan Borchett of Subiaco. 5 goals. He really answered, the skepticism of the Subiaco forward line, who were both without Sokol and Mayo. He was absolutely magnificent, Borchett, with 5 goals. 2 votes, Nick Rokar from Swan Districts. Again, saw plenty of the football. 34 disposals in that draw against the Bulldogs. He really was the driving force in that midfield. 3 votes, Zach Mainwaring of Claremont, back to his best, a 5-goal haul and over 20 disposals, and he really played out of his skin, as I said. Solomon James of South Fremantle, he gets the 4 votes this week. He's come of age as a prime ruckman as Solomon James. He's built like a beast, isn't he? He's an absolute unit, is Solomon James, but he's a good tap-out ruckman, and his follow-up work has improved as well this season. And the Around the Waffle top gun for round 17, the 5 votes goes to Michael Selwood of Peel Thunder. We said earlier, his role as that lockdown defender was key. Aaron Clark was Perth's only effective forward. Michael Selwood shut out the rest. He was absolutely magnificent. And like you said, his work rate has improved as well, but also he can do it so well in attack and in defence as well. So he gets the 5 votes for this week.
Thoroughly deserved, and interesting to see, do the umpires recognise defenders come stand overnight as well, because if they do, he could poll a few votes. But well done to all those players who polled, and it's the leaderboard certainly heading up, isn't it?
No doubt about it. And there's no change to the top 10 as a result. Let's take a look at it anyway. Mitch Crowden, of course, on 15. Oliver Eastland on 14. Jesse Turner also on the podium with 12. And then comes Hayden Schloith and Jonathan Marsh, each with 10. Lockie Blackiston with 9. And then, of course, the rest of the top 10. Lee Coleman, Nathan Wilson, Bryn Teakle and Isaiah Winder on 8. So the top 10 has been unchanged following round 17. And 59 players have polled at the present time. 4 rounds to go. It's getting ever closer.
Yeah, it is. 2 players that I feel have been standouts, and obviously this is the Around the Waffle award, but for a standout point of view, I think Isaiah Winder and Oliver Eastland might be the 2 to beat at this stage.
I reckon so. It's going to be a very close race for the Sandover come September. Yeah, Eastland has been fantastic in the ruck. He had another good game, and so too did Isaiah Winder, another 30-plus disposal game in that draw over Swan Districts. Rothy, that's all the time we have, and all the listeners, that's all the time we have for today's episode. Round 17 in the books, and now round 18. Rothy, can't wait to deliver all the action for them on Thursday.
Lovely, Paul. See you Thursday.
See you Thursday, Rothy, and I'll see you listeners on Thursday as well. Be sure to catch us on our socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can catch us on wherever you get your podcasts as well, and on our Around the Waffle YouTube channel. We look forward to your company on Thursday for a massive round 18 with finals ramifications on each of the clashes.